The need for a zero trust approach to protect organizations is undeniable. In today's world, safeguarding sensitive data in cloud applications has become more crucial than ever. With artificial intelligence based applications becoming the norm, zero trust strategy is not just a nice to have anymore. If this resonates with you, you are in the right place. I am Priyanka Neelakrishnan, Product Line Manager here at Palo Alto Networks. Today, in this presentation, I'll guide you through the importance and implementation of a zero trust approach in protecting your organization's data. I'm pleased to announce that we have just launched a zero trust based cloud applications user access control solution that organizations can now leverage. We'll also be diving into a live demo showcasing its effectiveness in protecting access to cloud applications. Let's dive in. Users are increasingly accessing cloud applications from diverse locations. Traditional security models focused on securing the network perimeter, assuming that anything inside the perimeter was safe. However, this assumption has been challenged by trends such as remote work, cloud computing, and mobile devices, which have expanded the network beyond the traditional boundaries. This expansion has rendered perimeter based security inadequate for protecting modern IT environments. Cyber attacks are increasingly leveraging compromised insider credentials or exploiting vulnerabilities to move laterally within the network once inside. This means that even if threat breaches the perimeter, it should not automatically be trusted to access sensitive resources or data. Modern IT environments are complex, consisting of a mix of on premises, cloud, and hybrid infrastructures. The complexity introduces challenges in maintaining visibility and control over network traffic, making it harder to enforce consistent security policies. Zero Trust shifts the focus from securing network perimeters to securing individual data assets and resources. This means implementing security controls based on identity, device health, location, and other contextual factors, regardless of whether the user or device is located. Zero Trust emphasizes continuous monitoring and authentication of users, devices, and applications. This approach helps in detecting and responding to threats in real time rather than relying solely on static security measures. Now, let's look at what are the key principles that's included in a zero trust approach. Number one, verify explicitly. Every access request is explicitly verified based on identity, device posture, location, and other relevant attributes. This means abandoning the notion of implicit trust based solely on network location. Example, within the corporate network. Number two, least privilege access. Grant the minimum level of access necessary for users and devices to perform their jobs. This principle helps limit the impact of a potential breach by restricting lateral movement and access to sensitive resources. Number three, assume breach. Instead of assuming that the perimeter is impenetrable, Zero Trust assumes that attackers may already be inside the network. Therefore, continuous monitoring and detection of anomalous activities are essential components of a zero trust approach. By assuming that no entity, whether inside or outside the network perimeter, is inherently trustworthy, and by implementing stringent strict security controls based on the principles of least privilege, organizations can significantly enhance their security posture and better protect critical assets and data. Now, identity information is a cornerstone of effective cybersecurity. and plays a pivotal role in enabling secure access, enforcing policies, monitoring user behavior, and ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. Security products that leverage identity information effectively can enhance overall security posture, mitigate risks, and protect critical assets within organizations. User identity is one of the most important pillars in implementing a zero trust strategy. Hence, it's important that you're able to not only consume identity information from multiple sources with ease, but also to maintain that identity and keep the identity information always in sync and offer that to all of your enforcement points. Basically, you got to have the same identity information available across campus, branch, remote workplace, data centers, private cloud, SaaS, public cloud, whatnot. So you can go and implement your zero trust strategy effectively. Based on the data, we know that 87% of customers today are migrating to cloud or already have migrated to cloud based identity providers. However, adopting zero trust becomes challenging due to fragmented identity data across multiple sources. Not only that, having each identity source tied to each of your security solution is cumbersome and leaves gaps in protection. Let's dig a little bit deeper into what is going on. Number one is proliferation of identity sources. Customers are managing identities across various sources, including on premise directories, cloud platforms, and third party identity providers. Fragmented identity data leads to inconsistencies and challenges in maintaining a unified view of user identities. Number two, complexity in identity management. Managing identities from multiple sources complicates identity lifecycle management, authentication, and authorization processes. Customers struggle to enforce consistent security policies and access controls across disparate identity repositories. Number three, barriers to zero trust implementation. Fractured identity data makes it difficult to implement zero trust principles effectively. Zero trust requires continuous verification and consistent application of security policies based on accurate identity information, which is challenging in a multi identity source environment. Number four, risk of identity sprawl and security gaps. Identity sprawl across multiple repositories increases the risk of security gaps and unauthorized access. Inadequate visibility and control over identities can lead to data breaches and compliance issues. Number five, integration challenges. Everyone is talking about zero trust. Customers want to implement zero trust in their enterprise. But integrating diverse identity sources to their diverse security solutions and establishing trust relationships between them is complex and time consuming. Customers face integration challenges when aligning identity data with zero trust frameworks and security controls. By addressing integration challenges, promoting standardized identity practices, and leveraging centralized identity management solutions, customers can enhance security posture and accelerate zero trust adoption. Now, let's look at some of the specific problems that cybersecurity professionals and enterprises face when it comes to implementing zero trust for cloud application access security. Number one, lack of unified identity across solutions. Because it is laborious to connect and unify identity providers to each and every security solution that an organization is using. Number two, difficulty distinguishing between named users and guest users' application usage pattern. Number three, gaps in user identification. There is lack in granular user visibility, like which group the user belong to, not just the AD group. What are the custom groups a specific user belong to? Basically, 360-degree contextual information on the user is missing, because of which there is difficulty and ineffectiveness in security policy authoring. I'm happy to share that we have the solution for the problems. Enhancing cloud application access security, that is SaaS, in line with unified identity through Cloud Identity Engine. Going forward, SaaS inline security now consumes user information from Cloud Identity Engine for Azure AD. So first thing, we will have Cloud Identity Engine to tackle unified identity problem. With PanOS 10.0, we are moved away to a completely new cloud-based architecture for identity with Cloud Identity Engine. This is one place in the cloud that all network security form factors can talk to and can authenticate and authorize their users against a variety of identity sources, whether they are on-prem or in the cloud or hybrid scenario. With this, customers will be able to easily authenticate and authorize the users and will be able to adopt identity-based policies and move towards zero trust. And we'll be able to support customers in their transition from on-prem sources to cloud-based identity sources, given CIE is one place to connect both on-prem and cloud identity providers. Although for SaaS inline purposes, which is for cloud application access control, we are interested in Azure AD integration for the first phase. The solution to the second problem is through traffic stitching between the discovered user's usage pattern and the information that we receive from Cloud Identity Engine on the users. So the named users have all 360 information, while the guest users do not have that information, so we can distinguish between them in the discovered users section. Number 3 is to get 360-degree contextual information on the user. So with CIE, we not only get the information on the user's name, region, role, email, manager, email, but we also get information around the groups the user belong to. It's not just the AD groups, but also dynamic user groups that CIE support. Our approach is to allow our customers to transition to Cloud Identity Engine with ease. A few years ago, customers relied on on-prem identity sources, and deploying user-based policies was straightforward. Today, organizations need to transition to cloud identity stores as their apps are moving to cloud, but they give up midway as deploying identity controls is complex. It's resource intensive. Customers using user-based policies with on-prem identity sources struggle to implement the same use case with cloud IDPs efficiently. It's operationally heavy, requires configuration with every firewall again, and relies on APIs for each identity provider. In the absence of support for a particular IDP, organizations give up midway. It's slow transition. Moving from on-prem to cloud requires organizations to first move to a hybrid world and fully transition to cloud over months or even years. Cloud Identity Engine, customers can move from on-prem to cloud-first world with ease. They can leverage cloud identity sources, that is, transition from on-prem IDP and move directly to hybrid or cloud IDPs. Easy to set up. Configure only once, consume identity information from on-prem and multi-cloud identity providers across all locations. Quick transition. They can migrate to cloud at their own speed, and fully migrating from on-prem to cloud in around 10 minutes, or they can decide the duration of the transition journey. Customers can now decide if they want to transition from on-prem IDP and move to hybrid first, or directly go to cloud IDP. Before, customers had to switch from on-prem to hybrid, have some wiggle room between on-prem and cloud to ensure they were migrating all identity information, which could take months or even years. Now, customers can move directly to all cloud or choose to migrate to cloud at their own speed. Similarly, on SaaS inline side, today customers are having direct integration of Azure AD with SaaS inline and use that user information. Going forward, they can use that information that they are using today or utilize the user information via the cloud identity engine with additional context around the user. So this option is available to the customers because we want to make sure that our customers feel supported and it is easier on their infrastructure to move from one identity provider to a unified identity solution. With SaaS Inline and Cloud Identity Engine's native integration, we get three things. One, we get complete user attribute details around the user. That is user's first name, last name, email, manager, role, department, region the user is coming from. And number two is user to group mapping. So what are the groups the specific user is connected with, that information. And number three, we get the details on not just the AD groups, but also the cloud dynamic user groups. That's the interesting part here. So cloud dynamic user group is a construct on the CIE side, which is like custom groups that an organization can create. It can be done in two ways. Either the admin can choose to create it manually. That is, they can pick and choose specific users and add them to a custom like dynamic user group 1, dynamic user group 2, dynamic user group 3, based on various criteria that is customized and based on the requirements that the specific organization has. For example, C-suites can be added to a specific dynamic user group, or their testers can be added into a different dynamic user group. And from policy-based dynamic group population perspective, let's say the risk score of the user, it is moving from medium risky to high risky, then automatically that user gets into that high risky dynamic user group bucket. So this is how this specific CDUCs are getting populated. There are different ways in which risk scores are received on the CIE front. One is from the Azure and XDR. In the future, we also get it from SaaS security. So that there are different ways in which risk score of a user comes in. But CIE has a mechanism or a way for users to be added to a different group based on the user attributes. Now let's talk about some of the key scenarios with this enhanced security solution that is widely asked by our customers. First, can block access to PII download if the user belongs to high-risky dynamic user group. Number two, you can allow access for users to share files if the user belongs to C-suite dynamic user group. Number three, can block access for users to copy files if the user is from a specific region or department or has a specific role. Number four, we get visibility into the application usage pattern of guest users coming into the organization. Number five, we get complete user details and attributes so as to author effective policies. That is, users, groups the user belong to, and dynamic user groups, role, department, region, manager, all this user information. Basically, it enables us to create user attribute-based policies. And that policy on SaaS Inline, if it's authored, it can be implemented across various control points like firewalls, Prisma Access, and VMs. It's demo time. Let me show you how it is done. So if you're in the SaaS security trying to create a policy, now we're going into Cloud Identity Engine. On the Cloud Identity Engine for Azure AD, you need to make sure the configuration is set right so that user risk information is properly collected. and the logs are also collected. Now you can get into the groups and create a dynamic user group. So there are two ways in which you can create a dynamic user group. One is the attribute based, and another one is the on-demand assignment. So let's look into the attribute based first. Of course, because you can manually add users to a specific dynamic user group and create it. That's one way. Another one is the attribute based one, wherein you can dynamically add users in runtime. Let's say the user was medium risky, and suddenly, because of a certain action that they have taken, they are moving into a high risk user category. Then that user is added into a different dynamic user group. So now we are looking into attribute-based assignment. So there are different attributes: risk level, risk reason, company name, department, country, role, title, region, time. To create a dynamic user group on the CIE, let's go into the Cloud Identity Engine. In here for Azure AD, we need to make sure the configuration is set right so that all the information is getting collected on the user, including the risk data. And you go into the groups and create a dynamic user group. There are two ways in which the dynamic user group can be created. One is manually, wherein the admin goes and picks and chooses users and add them into a dynamic user group, or attribute-based assignment. So in the attribute-based assignment, based on the risk level, country, department, company name, location, title, based on these user attributes, certain users are added into the dynamic user group. This can be done dynamically in runtime, wherein the user was medium risky, and suddenly, because of certain action the user has taken, they become high risky user, then automatically they are added into the high risky dynamic user group bucket. So now we are selecting country equal to USA for our dynamic group. So now that we have created the dynamic user group, that is region-based dynamic user group, and we have one user in that group. Now we can go into our SaaS inline policies. So we are going to SaaS security. Under SaaS security, discovered applications. In policy recommendation, creating an application level, because we are trying to do the access control for applications. So rule name, and enabling the rule, so that once you have it enabled, it gets synced to the form factors like firewalls, Prisma Access, or VMs. Let's pick the application on which we want this policy to be enforced on. Let's say we are doing Dropbox. We get information around the risk score of Dropbox and the type of capabilities that we support for Dropbox. For example, we want to block download in Dropbox. Then let's pick the user activity as download and response action as block. Now let's go into the CIE user group. So this is where we give that ease of transition for users so that they don't have to immediately get into Cloud Identity Engine. Whatever they have today works. In addition, if they prefer to go into Cloud Identity Engine, they get additional attributes. All 360-degree information on the user is provided with CIE users and groups. So here you can select users or Active Directory groups or CIE dynamic groups. Our interest for this specific enforcement is to get the region-based CDUG or Cloud Dynamic User Group that we have created. We are not picking any data profile for now. Data profile is the DLP one, wherein you can state that block download of the files in Dropbox if the file contains GDPR or PII information, right? So that's why the DLP comes into the picture. Because we enabled it, it got automatically synced as and when we save the policy. Now, in the control points, so the policy as we save it, it goes into multiple control points, be it firewall, Prisma Access, or VMs. Now, it goes in as a policy recommendation. These are the user, dynamic user group, CDUG information is going in there. And the response action, that is, we want to block download response action for the application Dropbox. Let's import the policy so that it gets enforced on the control point. This is the, let's give some name so that this is the policy which is actually on the control point. Okay, the policy has been added to the rule base. Now let's go and look into the policies. Yes, our policy is test region CDUG. User info is here. And application is Dropbox. Okay, let's commit it so that it gets enforced. So with having user complete information on the user enables the admin, CASB admin to create effective policies. Not only granular control is required, we also need granular visibility so as to have effective policies authored. So that's the primary intention behind getting all details on the user. Okay, the commit is 98%, 99% complete. So as and when the commit is complete, we'll impose ourselves as the user because it's not, there is no real traffic. So let's get that thing done on our end to make sure that we are that user. We are the user named Nishant here. All right, now let's get into Dropbox and try to download the file in Dropbox. Now the user account is created. Let's go into Dropbox. Okay, so we are in Dropbox. Now, the response action that we want to take was to block this user from downloading. Let's try to download. Okay, download. Okay, the download was blocked. Now let's get into our control point to make sure that this is being captured on our end. Let's go to monitor. Yeah, Dropbox downloading. It has to be policy is denied. Session and reason is policy denied. Exactly. So now finally successfully the policy got enforced. All right. Now let's go and look at the user section in the policy creation page. So this is our SaaS inline policy creation page wherein we have the CIE users and groups. So here we have the option to select just the user or give me all dynamic user groups or give me all AD groups. And from filter perspective, we have role, department, region, or Active Directory account-based filters because there could be multiple Active Directories and we can pick and choose which Active Directory or in this we want to get the users or groups from. And region as well. Region is one such thing which most of our customers, many of our customers at least have asked for because for GDPR reasons, they do not want people from certain region accessing content of a specific application. Here with DLP, if you want, in addition to just monitoring or getting that access side, we are making sure sensitive access is getting blocked or allowed. For that, we could use DLP, like GDPR block, GDPR or block HIPAA content download or share. So that is why we have DLP in here with data profile. Now let's go into the users. So here in the under Discover Applications and Users, we not only get the users from users that were discovered in the organization, but we also make sure that we get that traffic stitching done between the CIE and the discovered users usage information. So if we have the email, role, department, region, account, all that populated, then it means that it is a named user. If that information is not populated, then it is a unknown or a guest user. From the user detail perspective, we get basic information around the user, like the user's name, email, Active Directory groups, the user belonging to, and even including the dynamic user groups. Because it is test tenant, we only have limited information, but I can show you how it's going to look like. We also provide information around what are the applications the specific user has accessed, and what is the risk score of those applications. And if there are tenants, and what is the risk, what is the usage pattern of that specific user look like for each of the tenant under that application. These are the information that we get in the user detail page. Now, if we go into this, because this is that was a tenant without actual real traffic. So let's look at how the actual user detail page will look like. It's got more information around manager, email, Active Directory account, role, department, region, Active Directory groups. It lists all the Active Directory groups the user belong to, including the cloud dynamic user group information. So that's the beauty of the basic information of the user detail page. Similarly, on the policy recommendation side, when you add the users and groups from CIE, we have all the information on that user populated. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this demo. Thank you everyone for joining me in this presentation today. I hope it was helpful and you enjoyed the demonstration of the solution and started thinking to implement zero trust based, least privileged access control policies in your organization for better and enhanced security. Thank you.